Happy Halloween!
Kelly, it's Halloween.
It is.
And this is our 12th Halloween special.
Wow.
That's a lot from
It
History
is.
Goes Bump. We had our very first one in 2014. And we always try to do some kind of theme, like we've done the history of Halloween in the past. And we've talked about horror hosts. That was one of my favorites. Haunted attractions we've done. We've done Disney's Haunted Mansion and talked about the history there and the haunts that go on there.
Candy.
Yes, we've talked about candy, of course, costumes, vintage Halloween. And so I was like, oh, what can we do for this year? What haven't we done? And it popped into my head, we have not done Halloween music.
Excellent.
So this kind of comes off of last year where we talked about 80s horror movies. So we're going to have a lot of 80s kind of music that would be in this as well. We're going to talk all different kinds of things like, the devil's chord and some evilness that might be inside of the music. And we're going to talk about some of our staples for Halloween that we all like to play or hear. And you might have it like your Halloween party. And then we're also going to talk about music that you would hear in a horror movie. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it.
I wonder if anybody noticed that we've been joined by our friend.
Who's that?
I don't know. It's a special guest. It's a special guest. And we're drinking an actual German beer. And it says that it is the classic smoke beer. And I let Kelly have the first taste and she goes, yeah, smoke. It tastes like a barbecue. Yeah. It's okay. I wanted to drink a German beer for Halloween. It just seemed appropriate.
Well, and you'd had a Marzen before, and it was not like that. So I like darker beers, so I'm good with it.
It works for you.
I'll have a little sip right now.
All right.
A little sippy sip.
You get a little sippy sip. We'll see how far along we are when we get to the end of this Halloween. So what are you guys doing for tonight? I hope you're going to have some fun. We have our sons in town. So we thought we're going to have to do this big. Not only did we do Universal Halloween Horror Nights for the first time, but we're going to have a little haunted attraction in our garage.
We are.
It's going to be so much fun.
I've been working hard on it
tonight. And we're all going to be dressed like our friend back here. We're going to be scary
little clue
scarecrows. Yeah.
We'll have to take some pictures of our makeup and so forth because I'm really excited to get it done.
I'm excited for you to do it. She's been practicing for like a month and seeing how long will the makeup stay on. Does this look good? So
working my day job, and then all of a sudden I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror and go, oh yeah, that's me.
Oh crud, we have a meeting that we have to be on screen for? Uh-oh.
No Zooms.
All right, Kelly, are you ready to start this
I think
Halloween
so.
special? Let's do it.
We always try to pick a fun theme for our Halloween special, and this year we thought we would feature Halloween music. Not just the music one might hear in a horror movie, and we will definitely talk about some of that, but music made specifically for Halloween. There is a whole history to what some may call monster music that goes from fun novelty songs to goth punk and even disturbing. Join us for this candy corn-filled, costume-wearing romp through one-eyed purple people eaters, monster mashing, ghostbusters busting, and nightmares before Christmas.
Kelly, let's set the mood with a little true ghost story. And this is from one of our listeners named John. We used to in the past save up all the real life experiences that our listeners would share with us and then share them on Halloween. And then I was like, no, I'm just going to start reading them as we go through and, are doing the shows. And so we hadn't saved them. But this one John sent a few weeks ago, and I was like, I'm going to save that for Halloween. So here is what John wrote us. Hi, I wanted to share a true story from my family. My parents divorced when I was 3 and never spoke to each other again, best I can tell. They have both told me this story at different times. When they first got married, they were renting a house close to where my dad milked cows. That's an interesting job. Every night they would hear heavy steps upstairs that came down the stairs and through the kitchen, and every morning the kitchen door would be open. They changed the locks, and this still happened. One night, my dad dragged a heavy china hutch in front of the door. The next morning, the china hutch was against the wall, and the door was open. One morning after Dad had gone to work, Mom heard the footsteps, but they came in their bedroom this time. Her little dog started whining and hiding under the blankets. Mom heard someone say her name right in her ear. She jumped up, grabbed her shoes, and walked to my dad's job. They moved out days later, and the landlord told them a man was killed in the attic of the house and that he was having a hard time renting it out. The house burned to the ground a few years after that, even though there was no power to the house. So it's like his parents moved out and the guy could not get anybody else to rent the place. Clearly they wouldn't stay long. His parents didn't stay long. And they both told him this story at different times, which tells me it really happened.
Really happened, and it was definitely an intelligent haunting if he knew the mother's name. If he, the spirit, knew the mother's name.
Yeah, that's a little scary. I don't want you saying my name, especially whispering it in my ear. That's just too intimate.
Okay, I'll remember not to do that again.
You can whisper in my ear. I don't mind you being intimate, but when I can't see something and it's a stranger, don't be whispering in my ear. Unless you're saying trick or treat and giving me a treat.
I was going to say, and giving you candy. So we've done an episode on haunted music, episode 344.
One of my favorite.
And we wanted to share a little bit from that about the devil's chord. Music was very connected to the church up until the Middle Ages or medieval times. The devil's interval or devil's chord was introduced at this time, and it was considered so diabolical that it was banned by the church. The devil's chord was not harmonious like other music of the time. Harmony has notes that flow together and share pitches and frequencies. There is a set timing to the harmony, like a waltz is 3/4 time, and a march is 2/4 time, etc.
And I don't know anything about music. That's something.
But I know what it is.
More in your line there. The devil's interval is formally called the tritone. Have you ever heard of a tritone?
I have.
Okay. So this is the augmented fourth and the diminished fifth. According to Carl E. Gardner's 1912 text, Essentials of Music Theory, a triad in music is composed of 3 tones. These tones are a starting note plus the third and fifth tones found along its scale like C and then E and G. Most chords are independent, but a tritone is dependent and has dissonant or tense intervals. There's something about a dissonant chord that is disturbing to our spirits. So as human beings, we are made music is very calming to us usually, or it can bring you some joy and stuff. But when we hear this, the devil's interval or the devil's chord, it's your spirit, it's your soul, it's something deep inside you. It's disturbed by it. There's something not right about it.
That's why musical scores are so important to horror movies, and especially psychological horror movies.
Exactly. If a composition ends with a tritone, it is unforgettable. And in a singing composition, it is nearly impossible for any singer, regardless of talent, to sing. So it's like a singer can't even get to whatever this.
You can't imitate it.
Is. Thus, any piece of music with the devil's interval is thought to be creepy and chilling. Because of all of this, the church banned it and called it Diabolus in Musica. John Sloboda, a professor of music psychology at London's Guildhall School of Music and Drama, was interviewed on NPR in 2012, and he explained how it is that the devil's interval is disturbing, saying, "Our brains are wired to pick up the music that we expect, and generally music is consonant rather than dissonant, so we expect a nice chord. So when that chord is not quite what we expect, it gives you a little bit of an emotional frisson because it's strange and unexpected. Many composers have used the devil's chord throughout history. Wagner's opera, Tristan und Isolde, has the tritone in its prelude and kind of goes with our beer. For this reason, it is sometimes called the Tristan chord. This incorporates the notes F, B, D sharp, and G sharp. Wagner's Götterdämmerung also has the chord and some terrifying imagery, which will also become a part of performances of the Devil's Interval. In this opera, there's a scene that has drums and timpani and feels evil with a scene playing out what seems to be a black mass. Beethoven has it in his Piano Sonata number 18 and Fidelio. Michael Tippett's Second Symphony features the tritone prominently. Camille Saint-Saëns' Danse Macabre was a salute to the dead coming alive at Halloween and first performed in 1875. I love this piece. It is so cool.
2.
Hungarian composer Franz Liszt used the tritone scale and images of devils playing violins and dancing in his Mephisto waltzes. And we just talked about Franz Liszt in a recent episode, Liberace. This was the one that he swore haunted the piano that he owned that used to be Lintz's.
Jazzmen used the devil's chord throughout the 40s and 50s and even had a hand signal to pay homage to what they called the flattened fifth. This was a high five, but with the thumb folded into the palm. Is that what it is?
Yep, that's what I did. That's what I did. I guess that's what it is.
And the musician would call out, is it Ulia Kuman?
Ulia Kuman.
When singing the tritone, jazz performers would sing with a false chord technique that came off as just a sound like a scream or growl. Metal singers do the same thing today. In our modern era, one can hear it in Jimi Hendrix's Purple Haze, Black Sabbath songs, Rush's YYZ, the song Maria in West Side Story, Busta Rhymes' Woo-Ha, Got Y'all in Check, The Simpsons theme song, and death metal music.
And since we're talking about screaming there, we should probably talk about Screamin' Jay Hawkins and his song, I Put a Spell on You. Kelly, you and I really enjoy listening to the Professor of Rock. He has a podcast that's called Professor of Rock, or you can watch him on YouTube. I do both. And my friend, Jerry Pauly, most of you know him from Hillbilly Horror Stories, totally turned me on to him. And I just love this guy. He is so good. And you could tell he loves music like we love haunted historic locations. It's just you can't fake it. And so it's really cool. So we heard this information from the Professor of Rock. Screamin' Jay Hawkins didn't start out as this shock rock ghoul who would come out on stage like a voodoo priest that looked half crazed. He actually wanted to be an opera singer, but instead he learned how to play the piano and started fronting blues bands. The guys in the band would be drinking while they were performing, and this got Jay into howling, and the audiences loved it. In the mid-1950s, Jay wrote a love song called I Put a Spell on You. It was this lovesick ballad. Hawkins' band entered the recording studio and did a little rehearsal, and the producer was dissatisfied with the sound. He knew that Jay and the band were good at cutting loose on stage, and so he told Jay that the song sounded stiff, and he wanted them to play it like they would on stage. Well, Jay didn't know what to do because the band was drunk when they did that kind of thing on stage, so he's like, I don't know how to reproduce that. When he told the producer, Arnold Maxon, that, Maxon got a bright idea to create the right conditions. He went out and got some ribs and fried chicken and a ton of booze. He told the band to eat and drink up, and they all got hammered. Then they recorded the song, and Jay grunted and howled and hollered through the whole thing like a madman, and it was a gold recording that day. And today, it is a Halloween staple.
I just think that's hilarious.
And I mean, we've had people who have covered it and done it kind of as the standard that it should be without all the, howling and everything in it. But it's just great how that came off. And I was like, oh, it makes sense that they were totally hammered when they were doing that. And he literally, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, listened back to it the next day and he's like, that was me? What? He didn't even recognize himself, but clearly he embraced what he created there, because then he went out on stage as this voodoo kind of priest and all done up with his costume and stuff.
Spooky Little Halloween is a great account to follow on Instagram, and she has a great website. She joined us on one of the Halloween specials in the past. One of our favorite things that she does is putting together these playlists on Spotify. A staple of those lists are novelty songs. Several novelty songs have Halloween theming or topics that fit perfectly with Halloween.
There's Purple People Eater. Sheb Woolley created the Purple People Eater song in 1958. He was more of a honky-tonk kind of guy who wrote cowboy songs and appeared in Western films. He sure changed that with this song. Part of the song features the People Eater's voice and a saxophone solo through a horn in his head, and this was created by recording a normal voice and sax solo and later speeding up the tape. That same technique brought us Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I'm not surprised. I actually performed the Purple People Eater for a elementary school talent show with a couple of my girlfriends.
Oh, very cool. There's Little Red Riding Hood by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. This song came out in 1966 and features the perspective of the big bad wolf. And thankfully, he seems more interested in a date than making her a meal. In more recent years, there was the Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff's Nightmare on My Street. And the more obscure Then She Bit Me. And here's a little bit of that one that people probably have not heard before.
There she is, what a doll. No, that's Chucky from Child's Play. I kissed her and she told me this was home. I had entered a dimension called the Twilight Zone. Where anything can happen.
Okay. Do you remember ever hearing that one?
I do not.
No, I don't think I remember that one. But I love that they have the creepy music in the background, too. But clearly, the best Halloween novelty song is... Kelly, what would that be?
The Monster Mash.
Of course, the Monster Mash. And, you can't have Halloween.
It was a graveyard smash.
That's right. You can't have it without this. So let's go ahead and get everybody in the mood with this one.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
He did the mash,
he did the Monster Mash.
the monster mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash,
It caught on in a flash.
he did the mash.
He did the Monster Mash.
We even threw our little wahoo in there.
Yeah.
Monster Mash was the first track on Bobby Boris Pickett and the Crypt Kickers' 1962 album, the original Monster Mash. So, Kelly, what exactly is the mash? I mean, these monsters are doing a mash.
Stomping. Oh, the potato song, right?
Well, in the 1960s, one of
That
the
one?
regular popular dances was called the mashed potato,
Yeah.
based on Dee Dee Sharp's 1962 hit Mashed Potato Time. This entailed stepping backward, tilting the heel inward, and then swirling it outward while on your toes, and then repeating that with the other foot. It's very similar to the Charleston.
Okay.
So the monsters are doing the mashed potato. That's what the Monster Mash is. Pickett changes up his voice to imitate Universal monsters, which makes this all the more fun. Absolutely love it.
One of our favorite groups for novelty songs is the Gold Stars. This is a garage rock punk group that hails from Chicago. In 2021, they produced Stroll in Hell, which is a tune beloved by horror host Dr. Demento.
If he likes it, it's good for me.
There was 2023's Leave Me Alone, a Halloween song. And this year, they dropped one for our favorite guy, I Frankensteined You.
Yeah, you can follow these guys on Instagram at the Gold Stars Official. Make sure you get the S in the end of star there. So the Gold Stars Official. And I put together a little medley of those songs so that you can get a taste of what we are just loving here.
Even monsters do the strolling hell. Yeah, even monsters do the strolling hell. She's a woman, and she ain't my hand. Drag me to the dance floor. What's happening? Toss me up in the air. Love it, this dance party, man. Why these kids knocking on my door? Why these
though, right?
And Brando's charm, Gene Kelly's legs, Coco style, humor like rivers, yeah. And Reynolds laugh, let's synthesize that. And Bass's voice, yeah, that's my choice. Stitch it all together, stitch it all together, stitch it all together. I know it ain't right, but here we go. I'm Frankenstein, I'm Frankenstein. Now you're all mine. I'm Frankenstein, you. I'm Frankenstein, I'm Frankenstein. I lost my mind.
So that's the Gold Stars. Love it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, lots of fun. And now a little break for a word about one of our sponsors. Punk rock just screams disturbing in Halloween, doesn't it, Kelly?
Indeed.
And we're a couple of Gen Xers, so we love our punk rock. The Misfits produced their own song about Halloween. Did you know that, Kelly?
I don't recall that one. I'm sure I'll remember it as soon as I hear it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and share that with everyone. And so some of you youngsters definitely have probably not heard this. Here you go.
I can't bob my head like that no more. I need to go to the chiropractor.
I was just telling everybody I love them. Yeah. There are a handful of songs that are just staples on any Halloween playlist. So think in your heads like, it's Halloween, other than Monster Mash, like what song do you have to hear on Halloween? It goes with that. Kelly, I think one of the top ones that should come up in anybody's list would be, what are we into here? Ghosts. So,
Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters. This was a song that was written and performed by Ray Parker Jr.
There's something strange in your neighborhood.
There's always something strange around here.
There's something weird and it don't look good. Who you gonna call?
It was released in 1984 and hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Parker was inspired by a late-night commercial he watched for a service business that included the line, "Who you gonna call?" And all of a sudden it came to him. The other shoo-in has to be Michael Jackson's Thriller. I remember when the video dropped on MTV. It was so amazing. Do you remember that, Kelly?
Absolutely.
All of us kids gathered around our MTV, and it was like, oh my God, this is the night. This is when they're going to drop Michael Jackson's Thriller. And you watch this thing, it was like 13, 14 minutes long, and it was like a mini movie. It was just amazing. It was scary, and it was so cool with the music.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood.
And that just made it. I mean, when you put Vincent Price in anything, that's why we don't play those clips anymore on the show, but we'd have those little sound stingers or bumpers that we would throw in there. And the voiceover guy that I hired to do it, I told him I want a Vincent Price laugh in there somewhere. And so that's why we had that little Vincent Price laugh that would show up every so often. Thriller is a disco funk song, and it was produced by Quincy Jones and was written by Rod Temperton. The song was meant to be reminiscent of film music. The addition of Vincent Price for the spoken word sequence was a brilliant move. He recorded it in 3 different parts, and Quincy Jones was just like, that was so amazing. He just loved it. The song was released in 1983 and eventually reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song is one of the best-selling singles of all time. The music video was made when Thriller began to slump on the charts. They were like, what can we do to boost it again? Well, that boosted it all right. John Landis, who directed An American Werewolf in London, great movie, helmed the video, and he wrote it with Jackson. The music video doubled sales of Thriller, and the zombie dance is popular in movies and on dance floors around Halloween.
The Nightmare Before Christmas gave us This Is Halloween, and again, a perfect song for the holiday. Danny Elfman wrote and performed the song, and the citizens of Halloween Town sing it. It's been covered by various bands.
Another one of my favorites. I just love this song.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, pumpkins scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween, everybody make a scene, trick or treat, tell the neighbors gonna die.
And we'd love to play longer clips of this, but we don't want to get hit with copyright stuff. So hopefully they're going to, look the other way because we're just doing the little fairy
Little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Warren Zevon wrote Werewolves of London with Leroy Marinell and Waddy Wachtel, and Zevon sang it with Mick Fleetwood playing drums and John McVie on bass.
So it's kind of like Fleetwood Mac.
A little
singing it
bit.
with them or doing it with them.
The song was released in 1978. The first line sets the tone. I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in its hand.
I mean, if you see that, things are kind of crazy.
Werewolves of London. Werewolves of London.
When I was a little kid, I used to pretend I was a werewolf. And I was like, I could just turn into a werewolf and get that bully.
Oh, well, did you kick some booty?
I should have.
Time Warp is a song from the 1973 rock musical, The Rocky Horror Show. That also was used in the 1975 film, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. The song is technically described as a glam rock song that is supposed to parody dance songs with instructions for performing the dance. Time Warp was written by Richard O'Brien and Richard Hartley.
It's just a jump to the left.
I just pulled the thing. I don't remember from my right.
With your hands on your hips.
Those are well-known songs, but there are hundreds of Halloween spooky-themed songs. You can listen to them 365 days a year on deadair.co. I highly encourage you guys to check out that website. It has some great tunes on it. There's also SiriusXM has their little Halloween channel during this time for a couple of weeks. I've been listening to that as well. One that I was reminded of the other day on there is one of my most favorite songs of all time. It is Hell by Squirrel Nut Zippers. I mean, the name right there, but it is the kind of music that I just love. And the fact that it's got the theming to go with it, that's, hell, it's just perfect.
In the afterlife, you could be headed for the serious strife. Now you make the scene all day, but tomorrow there'll be hell to pay. The afterlife, you could be headed for the serious strife. Now you make the scene all day, but tomorrow there'll be hell to pay.
Yeah, tomorrow there will be hell to pay. And I love the Crewnecks with their Rockin' Zombie. And then we have Lee, the Big Masher, Lily with Spooky Movies. There's just something about these old spooky theme songs that take you back to an earlier time, back when we were, trick-or-treating, listening to this kind of music. I love it.
One night as I was walking past the cemetery, I saw a little girl, she's walking towards me. So I made the scene and I went to see it. I got a look at a real zombie.
Oh boy. That girl ain't no girl. She's a zombie.
Saturday night, go to a show. I sit way down in front in the second row. I gaze her eyes upon the screen. The next thing we know, everybody screams. A spooky movie, spooky movies.
So much fun. We hope this is getting you all in the mood for Halloween tonight.
Nothing sets a mood better than music. We're sure the listeners have all seen video clips from movies where the original music has been stripped and replaced with horror music, turning a rom-com or family-friendly movie into a terrifying film.
This is kind of the suggestion that you were making earlier, Kelly, that, it's the music that sets the tone.
Yep. Some of the best Halloween music comes from horror movies, with the supreme example being
Let me know if he moves back there. Man, I love that song. It is so great.
Everybody knows that music, and it immediately gets your heart pumping. You want to look around, as we did.
Yes, we did.
Because surely something is after you. And the cadence lends itself to running down the street in terror while being pursued by a knife-wielding madman. Let's talk about some of our favorite horror composers. Obviously, the Halloween music was created by John Carpenter for his movie.
And I think he had no idea just how iconic that music was going to be.
And how simple the notes are.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, just bing, bing, with that track running in the background. It's amazing. It's the same thing with Jaws and John Williams.
Yes.
Same effect, not a lot of keys, just a few, but it's like you start hearing that and all of a sudden you're thinking there is a shark coming up on me.
Yep.
Well, probably one of our favorite composers of all time would be Danny Elfman. The entire soundtrack to Nightmare Before Christmas could enhance any Halloween party, but he also wrote the theme for Tales from the Crypt and the music for Sleepy Hollow, starring Johnny Depp. There's Beetlejuice, of course, and Corpse Bride. And he also did Beetlejuice, the most recent one, which I actually think is better than the original. Elfman's initial fame came as frontman to the New Wave band, which I absolutely loved. So the fact that he jumped into film composing was just great. I mean, I loved Oingo Boingo, Dead Man's Party, Weird Science, and now he's making film scores, and he is so good at it. He moved into film scoring in 1985 when Tim Burton asked him to do the music for Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Elfman was hesitant because he honestly had no idea how to do that. He had no formal training, but he threw together a demo and Burton loved it. Obviously he did, because he not only used it, but then he and Danny Elfman teamed up over and over again. Elfman said that he got inspiration from Bernard Herrmann. And so that means we should probably talk about Bernard Herrmann, who is another huge favorite of mine, because one of my favorite on my top, it's definitely my top 10 horror movies. Could be top 5, Psycho. Bernard Herrmann was born in 1911, and music critic Alex Ross wrote of Herrmann, over 4 decades, he revolutionized movie scoring by abandoning the illustrative musical techniques that dominated Hollywood in the 1930s and imposing his own peculiar harmonic and rhythmic vocabulary. He was definitely innovative. The best example of this is his score for Psycho. And then that piece of music blends into the do 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 as she's driving down the road, Janet Leigh. So it's like you go from that really creepy to kind of this, I'm just driving down the road. It's, the 1950s
Country
or whatever. No big deal. And then you get to the shower scene and it's like, it's amazing.
That music just makes me want to run.
Yes, you're like, something is coming up on me. So, like Halloween, this music sets the tone for a tense, driving piece. Like you said, Kelly, it makes you want to run. The shower scene has music that is a masterpiece that matches well with the stabbing movements of the killer. When you hear that, you can just imagine that you're just ding, ding, ding. And in the movie, they can't show him literally killing her because of the time, but you could see the shadow. You could see the shower curtain getting ripped down. You see the chocolate syrup going down the drain. That's blood. And so you know what's happening here, and each of those, that eerie, like striking sound is the strike of the knife blade. Herman achieved this with violins that were played with a screeching, stabbing effect. Because they were like, how are we going to get that kind of a sound? And he went, I know exactly what we're going to do. Hitchcock himself said of the score that 33% of the effect of Psycho was due to the music, and that is totally true. He also said Psycho depended heavily on Herman's music for its tension and sense of pervading doom. Herman also wrote the music for many other Hitchcock movies, like The Birds, Vertigo, North by Northwest, and he scored Cape Fear and The Day the Earth Stood Still.
The Shining has one of the creepier opening themes, and this was composed by Walter Carlos, who is now Wendy Carlos, and Rachel Elkind. They took inspiration from a traditional melody known as Dies Irae, which is Latin for Day of Wrath, and I'm sorry, I'm sure I butchered that.
Well, you don't speak Latin, so.
This was a somber chant and used mainly for funeral services. That piece of music has been used often by composers to symbolize death. Carlos and Elkind put the melody in a lower register with brass tone color. They highly processed vocals and used exotic percussion. And then there is this synthesized low drone, which is really unnerving.
And it's like when they're driving up into the mountains, it's just this boom, 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 boom. And you're just like, oh God, it just sounds, you feel dread. It's just a song that it makes you feel dread. Graham Revell of New Zealand led the industrial rock group SPK in the 1980s and started film composing in the 1990s. He has scored Dead Calm, The Crow, From Dusk to Dawn, and Bride of Chucky. Marco Beltrami is an American composer who has written a number of scores for some of our more recent horror flicks like Scream, The Faculty, I love that movie, Resident Evil, Carrie, and A Quiet Place, another excellent movie. Just like Tim Burton works often with Danny Elfman, Beltrami worked often with Wes Craven. His score for A Quiet Place was nominated for a Golden Globe. And then there's Jerry Goldsmith. His list of horror compositions is massive. Coma, which is probably one of the first. Dracula, I think, was the first horror movie that I remember watching, but Coma comes in pretty close to that one. And oh, how creepy is that movie? Ugh. Poltergeist, Alien, The Omen, The Swarm, and Gremlins. You've got The Haunting and many of their sequels. And then I have to mention Bear McCreary because I love the theme from The Walking Dead, which he created. He's also done the music for Happy Death Day, another excellent movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and the remake of Child's Play. Then there's probably the most disturbing song ever recorded, Frankie Teardrop. People have been warned not to listen to this song alone and at night. Some people have claimed to become ill when listening to the song. The group who performed it was named Suicide. That tells you a little something. And they dropped the song in 1977. The professor of rock said of this song, the stark, bizarre arrangement and the brutal lyrics are still rattling listeners decades later, including me. I heard it the other day and I couldn't finish it. Don't worry, I am not going to play it because I have listened to a brief piece of it and it is so disturbing. I'm not even going to voice that on you guys. Don't listen to it. Suicide was a musical duo formed by vocalist Alan Vega and instrumentalist Martin Rev. They used a lot of synthesizers and primitive drum machines in their music. What really makes the song unsettling is Alan Vega's blood-curdling screams, and that's what did it for me. I can listen to, the Devil's Chord and all this other creepy music and everything, but it's his screaming that is so disturbing and unsettling that I can't do it. It literally disturbs your soul. The song is the story of Frankie, who is a poor factory worker who descends into madness. He takes the lives of his family and then himself. This kind of song reminds us of one we talked about on the Haunted Music episode that was called Gloomy Sunday. It has the same kind of bad reputation about it. Gloomy Sunday was a Hungarian piece of music with a notorious reputation. The song was said to cause people to unalive themselves. Gloomy Sunday was written by Hungarian pianist and composer Rezo Saras and is nicknamed the Hungarian Suicide Song. It was written in 1933. Isn't that weird that it was written back at that time?
Yeah.
The original lyrics were written as if the world was ending and reflected the despair about war and people's sins. Poet Laszlo Javar wrote his own lyrics to the song titled Le Zomoro Vazir Nap, which means Sad Sunday. The protagonist wants to commit suicide because his lover has died. More people remember those lyrics. Gloomy Sunday was first recorded in English by Hal Kemp in 1936 with lyrics by Sam M. Lewis. Billie Holiday performed it in 1941, making it incredibly popular. Urban legends began claiming that people were killing themselves after hearing the song, and radio networks began banning the song, just like Frankie Teardrop, because that one definitely got banned. I mean, nobody wanted to hear that on the radio for nothing.
Music is incredibly powerful. It can take people to the depths of despair, curdle their blood with fear, and bring them joy. All of that is demonstrated through the music of Halloween. Whether it's a horror score or a fun novelty song, music sets the tone for Halloween. Try using music to get you in the mood for Halloween this year. Pick some classics and find some new pieces as well. And let the magic of Halloween music take hold.
And again, if you guys need a little inspiration or something to play in the background as you have your trick-or-treaters come, deadair.co is a great place to start. Lots of good classics over there and new stuff and stuff I guarantee you probably have never heard before, but it's very, very good. And of course, you guys know one of the main composers that we use for History Goes Bump, because he makes a lot of great horror music. He makes a lot of different kinds of music all across the spectrum, but I fell in love with his horror music to begin with, and we've become very good friends now, is Tim Kulig, and his last name is spelled Kulig. And if you go over to timkulig.com, there's lots of tunes there, and he just dropped, like last week, I think. It's an album that's like kids' horror songs, so it's a little bit more catered to the kids if you want to play a little something creepy for them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's horror songs. It's just more Halloween based, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's more that kids would be
Yeah.
more prone to listen to, or something that you would hear on a kid's video that's
Right.
supposed to be, scary stories for kids kind of thing.
Right.
Not quite as disturbing. Let's put it
Right.
that way.
Not Frankie Teardrop.
Well, Kelly, we are hoping that all of our listeners have a very happy Halloween. We thank you guys for joining us for this one, and we look forward to next year, which is going to be number 13.
Yes.
Ooh. So again,
Happy Halloween.
I've been your host, Diane.
And this has been Kelly.
You stay safe out there. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.